Tensions in the Middle East have just reached a new level. The Iranian military has issued one of its most explicit warnings in recent months. During a visit to units deployed in western Iran, Major General Amir Hatami stated that the forces under his command are ready to respond decisively to any act of provocation. The message is carefully calibrated to be heard far beyond Iran's borders, at a time when the region is accumulating multiple flashpoints and when even the smallest spark could trigger an uncontrolled escalation. According to the commander, the army is continuously strengthening its preparedness in the face of asymmetric and irregular threats. He describes a sustained and concrete effort, training, exercises, maneuvers, and a particular emphasis on passive defense in order to reduce vulnerabilities affecting facilities and personnel. The stated objective is clear: to prevent an adversary from exploiting surprise strikes, covert operations, or destabilizing actions carried out below the threshold of a declared war. In this context, Amir Hatami says that hostile movements are being closely monitored. Any maneuver deemed hostile, he warns, will receive an immediate and decisive response. He stresses that the army does not merely announce intentions, but actively trains to carry them out by combining surveillance, rapid mobilization, and retaliatory capability. This focus on reaction time highlights the importance placed on deterrence in an environment where just a few minutes can be enough to turn an incident into a broader confrontation. The general also emphasizes the morale of troops stationed along the borders. He says they have been equipped and adapted based on experience from recent confrontations that Tehran describes as an illegal aggression carried out by Israel and the United States. In this narrative, one episode is cited as evidence of vigilance. The Iranian military claims to have targeted and destroyed an Israeli Heron-type drone immediately after it crossed the western border during what is presented as a 12-day conflict. The message is clear. Iran wants to signal that it claims to possess detection and interception capabilities able to act without delay. This rhetoric is also rooted in historical reference. Amir Hatami recalls the war imposed by Iraq in the 1980s and states that Iran did not lose a single inch of its territory. He presents that period as a foundational reference. Even today, he says, the Army's mission remains the protection of territorial integrity and the independence of the Islamic Republic. The message is both military and political. The Iranian state portrays itself as resilient, ready to absorb shocks, and determined to maintain a firm stance in the face of external pressure. The general nevertheless insists on a dual requirement: protecting personnel while remaining prepared for sacrifice and death in combat. In his speech, firmness does not exclude caution, holding on until the last breath, but never allowing any harm to be inflicted on the civilian population. This balance between extreme preparedness and civilian protection is intended to legitimize the warning sent abroad, while also addressing a domestic audience shaped by decades of tension, sanctions, and recurring threats. At the same time, Israeli rhetoric has hardened. Israeli Chief of Staff Lieutenant General Eyal Zamir has threatened to strike wherever necessary, on both nearby and distant fronts. For many observers, such statements are intended to preserve leverage, reaffirm the option of long-range strikes, and maintain a deterrent signal toward Iran and its regional allies. But in a region saturated with tension, every phrase can also be perceived as psychological preparation for action, thereby increasing strategic nervousness. Adding to this verbal escalation are reports of upcoming discussions. The American network NBC reported that Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is expected to present plans related to a possible new aggression against Iran to U.S. President Donald Trump during a meeting announced in Florida. Even without knowing the exact content of such high-level exchanges, the mere prospect of reviewing operational plans reinforces the idea that military options remain on the table and that the Iranian file continues to be a major point of friction between powers and allies. At the center of these tensions lies the June episode, which continues to shape competing narratives. According to reported information, between June 13th and June 24th, Israel carried out an offensive that Iran describes as an act of aggression, resulting in at least 1,064 deaths. Tehran adds that on June 22nd, the United States joined the strikes by bombing 3 Iranian nuclear sites, an action Iran describes as a violation of international law. 2 days later, Iranian authorities claimed to have forced a halt to the offensive through retaliatory attacks, asserting a form of constraint achieved through military response. In this atmosphere, another Iranian message seeks to challenge the Israeli narrative. Brigadier General Ahmad Vahidi, deputy chief of Iran's armed forces, claims that Israel resorts to threats, political maneuvering, and media campaigns to conceal the costs incurred during the confrontation. According to him, verbal escalation and media noise serve to preserve an image of superiority and divert attention from losses and difficulties revealed by the June episode. This argument is central to Tehran's communication strategy, portraying the adversary as weakened, yet still dangerous because it seeks to compensate through intimidation. For the region as a whole, the stakes go far beyond a simple exchange of statements. The Middle East is already destabilized by overlapping crises, from the Gaza Strip to Lebanon, not to mention maritime tensions in the Red Sea and uncertainty surrounding several major diplomatic files. A direct confrontation between Iran and Israel could draw in other actors, disrupt energy markets, and increase pressure on strategic trade routes. Even in the absence of an open conflict, the repetition of warnings and threats increases the risk of miscalculation and escalation. In this type of crisis, danger does not come solely from a calculated decision, but from a chain of events. A downed drone, an attributed strike, a misinterpreted interception, or a covert operation revealed too late can be enough to trigger an uncontrollable spiral. The more martial the communication becomes, the narrower the margin for error. It is in this context that Iranian messages emphasizing surveillance, rapid retaliation, and passive defense take on particular significance. They are meant to signal that the cost of a new attack would be immediate. The question remains whether this logic will help stabilize the situation, or, on the contrary, further heighten the nervousness of the actors involved. The current period appears especially dangerous due to the combination of visible military preparedness and persistent political uncertainty. When military leaders use uncompromising language, each side may interpret the other's statements as signaling imminent intent. The Iranian army says it seeks to deter by demonstrating that it sees, anticipates, and will respond if provoked. Israel, for its part, emphasizes that it retains the ability to strike at long range. Between these two approaches, stability depends as much on the messages sent as on how they are received. The central question therefore remains, will deterrence hold, or is the region sliding toward a new phase of confrontation? Tehran's message is intended to be clear. Iran claims to have endured wars without losing its sovereignty and says it is now better prepared to face modern threats. But the outcome will depend on the choices made in the coming weeks, not only in Tehran and Tel Aviv, but also in Washington and other capitals capable of influencing the trajectory of this crisis. If you found this analysis useful, share this video. And if you are not yet subscribed, do so now. Activate the notification bell, like, and comment to support our work.